again. Been like 2 weeks. We've got a couple of people over here. We've got the wonderful and talented Adam and Ian.
Hey.
Hey. Oh my gosh. I just realized this is very. I can't believe I didn't realize this earlier. So we have the performance check half after this, and we're having a couple of guest players on who were in the one shot on Monday. One of them is also named Ian. I don't know why I didn't oh, I've got an Ian in each show.
Unless I've forgotten part of my life, different Ians.
It's all unless you've been pretending to be a totally different person.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Plastic surgery is a wonderful thing.
Let me know if music is too loud. I turned it up a little bit because I realized it was really quiet. Anyways, hey everybody, let's just go right into these questions. We didn't get very many questions this week, so I made up a lot. So
Let's see if I have any answers.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll start with the first one. This is just kind of a general, just checking in to where we're at and stuff. So what is the number one thing on your character's mind right now? And we'll start with Ian because he's far left on the stream screen.
I'm trying to figure out how to answer this without giving away things that I don't want to give away yet.
Yeah, that's very true. You can be as generic as you want.
Piotr is very glad that he's not where he was. Sorry, that he's not dealing with what he was dealing with, or what he thought he was going to have to deal with right before whatever happened.
Do you assume that after the party manages to get out of this cursed valley, that you will have to go back and deal with them later?
Yes. Yes. And if I know Patrick, he'll make us deal with it before then, so...
Like you were running from your long-lost grandpa, and suddenly he'll show up?
No, it was pretty recent. Like, the night before kind of thing, some stuff happened, so...
Wow. What about Artyom? What's he kind of thinking?
Oh boy, what does he think? I think he's still kind of very wary of his new companions. I think he hasn't quite developed a really close friendship with any of them. And so I think that's his primary thing is he's watching out and seeing I'm going through all this stuff and so far nobody's turned on me yet, but what's to stop them from turning on me once we've succeeded in our goals? Especially now that we've found the lost little girl and it's not the girl that we all thought it was back, the living one. Yeah.
I swear that little girl from the very, very beginning, she's gonna either be the embodiment of the ultimate bad guy, some avatar of evil, or she's the total opposite and she's Silhana, just incarnated. Just hanging around. I do have some additional questions about these things because I did get some specific for each one of you. Because neither of you were on. We've only had a couple of rehashes, and you guys weren't on the first one. I think second question. We'll skip that one for a sec. Sorry, Mike. We're gonna do your question later. What are your personal, Adam and Ian, and your character's thoughts on the rest of the members of the party? Is there anyone that are really suspicious to you, or you're really vibing with? What are your thoughts on that?
That Piotr guy kind of sucks.
What's wrong with
Artyom. I always literally... So Artyom is a character from a video game that the name anyway, is the name of a character from a video game that both Adam and I have played. And for whatever reason, my brain has made such a strong connection with that that every time I hear Artyom's name, I'm like, oh, that's me. And it's not. It never is.
Yeah, no, we're not playing the Metro series. We're playing D&D. I had to look because someone mentioned it in the chat, and I'm like, what was the name? Yeah. So I personally really like all of the characters. But like me as Adam,
Yeah.
I really enjoy everyone's character. And especially like the individuals that I know. For example, Kadiak. Kadiak Mike, I know you're in there, Mike. So by the way, Mike says, could you turn the music down just a tinge? I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you
saw
saw
that.
or
I
not.
just turned it down a little bit.
I have the chat on my phone. But yeah, so for example, Kadiak is very different from Mike in reality.
Yeah.
Mike has always been. Well, we grew up together, and for a while we really didn't like each other, but we've become really good friends over the past several years. He's always been a little bit more animated and like, hey, this is like all of the crazy awesome ideas that I have going on, and then Kadiak is like, I smash everything. And I'm very quiet while I smash everything.
And then he just chimes in with skull crushing just every once in a while.
Yeah. Just random little singing. And then how can I describe Artyom's thoughts and feelings towards other people without like giving anything away, right? So like I said, he's still very on the party. Like we've had near death, life and death experiences with each other, especially Corbett getting squished that one time. But at the same time, like, he's given a little bit of hints, so I don't feel too bad saying this. Like, growing up where he did on the streets, like, yeah, you can have a life and death experience with somebody, but as soon as there's a scrap of bread or a piece of gold that you want that someone else has, right? Like, you can turn around on him. I think out of everybody, he is a little, mostly feels a little bit more trust with like Corvette, primarily because he doesn't feel like Corvette is hiding anything. He's pretty open about his little magic weapon that keeps changing. And if you're gonna be, that open about something like that, like, all right, I guess he's not hiding anything.
What about Drith? Because Drith seems very open as well.
Yeah, Artyom has to wonder what is Drith's ulterior motives, right? Which, let's be fair, Adam doesn't think there is any. But Artyom is like, you're way too weird and out there, like might eat babies. It's just, he's like, what are you hiding from me?
Yeah.
When are you going to stab me in the back?
Yeah, that suspicion is really real. I definitely have been having trouble separating my feelings and Jelani's feelings about Artyom specifically, because like me, I'm like super sus on Artyom. Like he's a weird guy. He's totally not blind, but is he blind? Maybe that's just me, like I don't know. But I don't really know how suspicious, like how much Jelania could possibly catch on to any of that. It's really hard to know. She's not very observant.
Yeah.
She's not. So
yeah,
it's hard for me to be really sure of that. Ian, what about you and Piotr thinking about everybody else?
Piotr has questions, like he's not sure about the whole spider thing and whatnot with Drith, and he's also pretty sure that Artyom's probably not exactly blind or whatever. But Artyom, there I go again. Piotr also knows that everybody's got things that they don't openly talk about. That doesn't necessarily reflect on who they are as people, particularly when we're talking about people that we don't know very like none of these people have, like, what's it been, like a week or something?
I don't even think it's been that long. I think it's only been
Yeah,
like
I
2
mean,
or maybe 3 days.
yeah. So I mean, it's just a minuscule amount of time, and so he kind of feels distant from the rest of the party, which like as you kind of would, obviously, like you're kind of shell shocked in that kind of a situation, and you literally don't know these people, and Piotr hasn't had a whole lot of interaction with everyone, so the majority of the interaction he's had has been just like when they were like, okay, there's this thing that's trying to kill us, or these things, and we need to kill them, or we need to figure out how to solve this problem. But that doesn't, for Piotr, that's not something that causes or promulgates necessarily a whole lot of trust, if that makes sense. Well, maybe trust in some way, but not in the interpersonal sort of like it doesn't engender friendship, I guess, if that
Right,
makes
like
sense.
you're like, oh, I
Maybe
trust you to
trust.
go into like a dangerous situation with me, but I'm not gonna like
Yeah.
tell you about my problems.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like anyone in the group is extraordinarily wanting to pry, except for maybe Drith. It doesn't seem too ashamed to ask those maybe tough questions. But I wonder how long it'll be before we have that, because everything's kind of like tense right now. I'm just like, it has been only a few days, and it's been a lot of like trying to figure out what's going on and what are we gonna do next, and not like that rest moment of like, all right, now we can kind of put the pieces fully together. How long now? Because I've got some questions. I have a lot of questions. Character backstories are my personal favorite things in like the whole world, and it's really hard for me to not just ask everybody all their stuff.
So, what were you doing 24 hours before we got magically kidnapped?
How does your relationship with your family turn you into a magical singing man? What kind of childhood trauma did you go through? Some of this reflects in the questions that I wrote up tonight. I was trying very hard to not be like really spoilery. So, speaking of that, we can move
love
on
spoilers.
to another one.
I feel like that's an attack.
This one is for Ian. We haven't had much chance to learn things about Piotr so far. Is there any small, juicy nugget that you can give us? Doesn't have to be relevant to anything. Doesn't have to be detailed at all. Just something to like make the chat crazy and like upset.
Yeah, I've been like, and even in, like just role playing it, I've been just like, how much do I want to reveal? How much do I not want to reveal? And I literally go back and forth every 30 seconds or so. So yeah, I don't sleep. It's like, what do I want to do? One thing I can say, because this all like, I kind of wanted to let this out when Drith was talking with me. I think, if I'm remembering the conversation correctly, but nobody really like took the line that I had like, I thought that I had cast out. So, Piotr is worked as an emissary for a kingdom whose name is lost in my brain currently. But he works as an emissary. Yeah.
I feel like
so
I knew that, so I don't know where I would have known that if it hadn't have been from in-game, because we as a group haven't talked super deeply about our characters to each other.
True. That is true. I might... Oh, sorry if I thought that was
But
not
it's a
juicy,
good
but
one. I think
it's
that's
a thing.
good one.
But if they already knew that, then
I mean, it might have been
well.
just me. I have seen almost everything every conversation to do with the show, except for the secret ones that Pat and Mike and Pat and anybody else has. He's the secret keeper.
The keeper of the keys at Hogwarts.
Keeper of the grounds. Keys. Pat, is Hagrid confirmed?
Yep. I knew it.
Anything else you want to drop, or should we move on to the next question?
No, stay tuned. I'll be figuring out how to do that in a more artful way and figure out exactly what I want to in the coming sessions.
I feel like
That's what I'd say.
the dropping of backstory stuff without being too intense is very like, it's like flirting. You don't want to come on too strong, but you also don't know if it's being picked up on at all. And there's like this moment of like, should I say this? Is this too much?
Because I don't want to be like, because I want it to feel as natural conversationally as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to just, because Piotr isn't like, he's not going to brag about what he did before. So he's not going to be like, when I was this big shot guy out wherever the heck we were in relation to this weird place.
When
this
I
is
was
what
a
I
king,
did.
and then thrown out for having too many babies. I don't know. We'll get you thrown out as king. I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't vote for you.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed.
No, we all are. We are all Britons. We are. Anyway.
I see. Pat said in the chat, Piotr works as an ambassador for the Boyar of Wilhelm.
Thanks, Patrick. I feel like he's shaking his head right now.
I also feel like I pronounce that very like German. Wilhelm. He's shaking his head. Because I am. So is Piotr then German? Is Wilhelm? Or is it Swedish? I don't know.
Piotr's pretty Russian, so I don't know. At least the name.
We're all very... Alright, let's go to this next question. This one is for Adam. From me as well. Artyom mentioned a few weeks ago about how friends and teammates can sometimes let you down. Does he feel safe with the party? Does he imagine a possible reoccurrence of that disappointing event?
Does he?
That's what I'm
good
asking.
question. I mean, like I've said earlier, like maybe. You know, I think. You know, thinking back on it, I think I have to retract some earlier statements because I completely forgot about the whole conversation with Anya, where I was explaining like this is how you see when you can't actually see, right? So now that I remember that, because it was like a week ago, feeling like Ian here, just forgetting stuff. By the way, for everybody like picking on Ian, that's just Ian and our friendship. Is I pick on him and he laughs, and then sometimes he gets me back, and I'm like, oh man. But yeah, he can be concerned about a possible like I said, getting stabbed in the back, people turning around on him, which is kind of like, especially like when we were in the cave, he was kind of pushing. Why don't we all just work together and get out of the cave, and don't walk behind me, kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess you had kind of covered this a little bit earlier, but like the thought, this kind of dejected, like, oh, here we go again, kind of feeling almost of like, all right, this will start out great, and then we'll eat each other or something.
Yeah, maybe that's all on you guys.
On you, it's on. Got 2 more questions here. Still doing good on. We'll do the more light-hearted one first, which is from Michael. This was from a few times ago. We talked about this for the characters who were on last time. What physical thing, heights, spiders, the dark, etc., is your character most afraid of? We didn't get very many straightforward answers last time because we were all like, spoilers?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I haven't thought about like what he might be most afraid of, because it's so easy when you're playing a Dungeons and Dragons character, right? Like me in real life, I'm absolutely terrified of heights. Like I can't get anywhere near a huge drop off without some form of like railing or something. But when you're playing your Dungeons and Dragons character, like I can walk right up to that cliff and sit down on it because I'm not gonna fall off. Or if you're terrified of spiders, it's like, yeah, I can just smash that spider or burn it with a fireball. But I don't know. I'll have to think on that.
What about Piotr?
Same. I similarly am also terrified of heights IRL. And funny story, completely unrelated to Dungeons and Dragons, I discovered this fear, and it has subsequently gotten worse, when I was hiking on a trail called Angel's Landing, which for those of you who have never been, it's in southern Utah, and you've got a trail that is roughly probably about 2 or 3 times this width, and you're going up, and there's like a 1,500 foot all the way to like 3,000 foot drop on your right hand side as you're going up, and then a chain drilled into the mountain wall on your left that you're holding on to like climb up. And then you've got to go back down the same way. And so people are going up and down, and you're climbing around people, and yeah,
That's a
that
big nope.
I've done the hike twice in my life. Totally worth it. Makes my palms sweat to think about it. But yeah, I guess I similarly don't really think of that, unfortunately, when I make characters. So maybe I will have to retcon that, and we'll see more of it in the future.
Yeah, I feel like it can also just kind of come out. I think there's been definitely times where I've been playing where I'm like, I decide my character hates this thing. Doesn't have anything to do with their backstory or anything to do with their class. They just hate this one thing, And like we had an NPC in Performance Check a couple weeks ago. She's this huge, rough and tough Goliath paladin. She's great. And then they got on a boat, and I'm like, I decide she gets seasick. This has nothing to do with anything, but she gets major seasick and she hates being on boats. And so like she just became useless for a while everyone was in there. So sometimes it just kind of comes up. All right, we're gonna go to our last question before we run out of time. For everybody, what are your thoughts on the happenings in the Kamerov castle and learning about the Profane Guard? Big info thing that we got from last game.
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
Excuse me. I mean, oh no, another bad guy's not a terrible shock to Artyom. There's always something going wrong somewhere. But at the same time, I know that Artyom's gonna know more about this than I do, as Adam, off the top of my head, so I'll probably have to talk with Patrick a little bit and see what he has to tell me, since Artyom is, clergy. But like what happened in the castle, especially with like the Banshee, it's really hard for him for reasons.
Hit him in a very personal place.
Yeah.
What about Piotr?
Piotr has dedicated a significant portion of his career to I'm trying to hash this without revealing anything that I decide 4 minutes later I didn't want to do. He has devoted a significant portion of his career to addressing situations or people and organizations who victimize other people. So the whole like locking the girl in the castle and all that thing kind of doesn't sit well with him. So yeah, I'm trying to put words together, but yeah, that's more or less what he's thinking.
I feel like similar to the both of y'all, Jelenia got hit in a very personal place. Extraordinarily personal place with all the stuff that went on. This is part of why she did not continue to explore the castle with y'all. She just kind of sat and chatted with Anya too. Yeah. There's a lot more about that. That'll come up eventually. In game sometime.
I don't remember the name of the banshee, to be honest. I just remember it existed.
I was looking at my notes today. Her name was Anya. Anya Kamemrov.
Oh.
Her son Liam.
Oh, that's what I said. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Patrick wouldn't let me turn undead the banshee.
That keeps messing with my head because I played as a character named Liam a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because Patrick has done this, like he actually took one of my characters and has brought him into campaigns. I think 2 different campaigns since I played Tim, if I remember correctly.
This is why you have to have your characters die, because then they can't come back.
Oh no, I literally, my goal with that character was to make him immortal, which is literally the opposite. And then Patrick was like, I'm gonna use him later, and I was like, yes.
Well, I think our time is up. Thank you, Ian and Adam, for coming on and chatting with us and having a good old time talking about things. I feel like we'll be able to go into so much more detail as time goes on, of just like once someone drops a real lore dump, then we'll be able to talk about it instead of just like talking around it. So
yeah,
it's a race to see
sorry,
who does it first.
Sorry if I seemed like kind of canned, but I'm just like, I don't know what I'm not gonna regret saying.
Yeah.
So.
I don't want to drop something in the, after action report that I haven't even, shown off yet. So
Yeah.
Especially if it's something like, P.S. my character is actually the bad guy or something.
Yeah. I'm the villain of the whole campaign.
Alright. Well, we're gonna pop out for a sec. I'm gonna go get the people from Performance Check, and we'll see you in a little while. So, bye.
See ya.
Bye.